2017 is just a few weeks away, and I want to invite everyone to hit the reset button. And by hitting the reset button, what I want to talk about today is the approach we need to take with lead management and what happens because we're getting a lot of inbound calls, we're getting a lot of online appointments being set, and there are a variety of results that we're witnessing from all of these different sources. So I want to walk you through some parameters for you to consider. And obviously every center, every location is different. Every brand is a little bit different. But these fundamentals remain the same. And I'll look off to the right here a few times to review some notes. But first and foremost, the thing that I and my team have discovered is there are a whole lot of appointments not being scheduled. Now you may say, duh, we know that. No, I don't think you do. There's a whole lot of appointments, inquiry calls that are being made that are never being scheduled that you know nothing about. People that ask a handful of questions and say, okay, well, thanks, then hang up. Because there's an absence of closing for the appointment. It's not part of the normal protocol. So when you're looking at show rates that are excessively low or excessively high, that influences it dramatically. So we've got some locations that we deal with that have a very impressive show rate on appointments. The problem is when we shop those centers, not every one of them, but as a general rule, a lot of time the staff answering the call does not do an efficient job of trying to close for the appointment. Usually after one or two questions, which the normal prospect will ask, there's radio silence, there's dead air. And as pretend prospects, if you will, we just say thank you very much. And no name was secured, no phone number was secured, and not once have we had a follow-up call from anyone trying to schedule an appointment with us in any way, shape, or form. So what I invite you to do, whether you're a team member watching this video or your ownership watching this video, we need to take another look at how we're conversing with people when they call in. And my best advice is be prepared to overcome objections. Be prepared to address some of these hurdles. Role play with each other. Ownership role play with the team. Team role play with each other. Follow the video guidance that has been provided for almost all of you. And if you haven't gotten a training video on in the last few weeks on invitations on way to handle some issues involving the telephone, I invite you to reach out to us and we'll get it to you immediately. Maybe we sent it to someone and they haven't shared it with you. We have to have a better understanding that the role reschedules play as well. Depending on the brand, depending on the frequency of leads that are being generated, there's varying opinions from ownership as to what's a reasonable number of reschedules and what's not. I'm just going to tell you two worst case scenarios and you can work backwards from there. We have a location that has to reschedule on average a dozen times before anyone shows up. It's just the nature of what goes on in that particular location. We have role played and shopped the staff. They do an excellent job on the phone. It's a cultural thing. People book, they don't show up. We just reschedule as if nothing was ever wrong. And eventually they walk through the door. Now that they know that, they do exceptionally well month to month, year to year. One other worst case scenario, working backwards, I've witnessed this myself. I had an individual when I was visiting one of a location that we worked with who said, a prospect, or actually a client of a location who said, I called and scheduled for 20 years and never showed up. I had one thing after another that demotivated me or caused me not to show up. And finally, after 20 years, I showed up for this appointment, and boy, I wish I would have done it 20 years ago. It wouldn't be taking me so long to lose the weight. There are just people. There are varying degrees of people. There are low energy, medium energy, and high energy prospects, and you've got to recognize not everyone that calls is super high energy. And we also have to deal with online appointments versus live. So let's deal with live first. You've got low, medium, and high energy prospects that are calling in. We need to treat them all the same, but understand your high energy people will show up probably at about a 75 or 80% rate, maybe even 100% rate for that matter. Your medium energy people, you may have to reschedule a half a dozen times before they ever come in. And your low energy people, oftentimes are calling and booking an appointment just so they can say to themselves, well, at least I took that first step. Or they'll call and ask a bunch of questions, hoping and praying you'll say something they don't like, so now they have a reason not to do this. But recognize we've got high, medium, and low energy prospects. They all need to be treated in varying degrees, different ways. So reschedule is a natural part of the business. You have to have a mechanism in place where we are just relentlessly and constantly rescheduling. I don't care if it's blast texting. I don't care if it's blast voicemailing. I don't care if it's a live phone call or a postcard or something. You have a name and you have a phone number, in many cases an email address. That has value. It costs your center anywhere from $50 to $150 just to get that name and that phone number. Our job is to turn it into $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in revenue, if not more than that. And that's not even counting the direct and indirect referrals we could get from it. That one name and phone number could be worth $10,000 or even $20,000 in revenue to the center, and hundreds of dollars in commission at the staff level, and thousands of dollars in profitability at the ownership level. But we can't have an attitude of, well, if they don't show up the first time, they're not serious. Who cares if they're serious or not? Keep working them. I don't care if they didn't show up the 12th time or the 20th time or the 30th time. Until they have gone to the great beyond and they are in eternal rest, we just keep calling them and working them. So those are live. And let's go through some metrics on the live. If people are calling in, you can reasonably expect when you're firing on all cylinders that 8 out of the 10 people you speak to will book an appointment. Now, if you're saying to yourself, and staff, you don't have to admit this, I've been on your side of the equation probably more times than I realize. There are people that call in and we don't schedule, and the last thing we're going to do is say to ownership, hey, I just took a call with someone. They didn't schedule. I didn't get their name. I didn't get their phone number. And I didn't close for the appointment. So I just wanted you to know that lead just got wasted. We're not going to say that to the person we work for. Instead, we quietly hang up the phone and hope no one noticed that we didn't do a super fantastic and amazing job of answering that call. Out of 100 people we've scheduled an appointment with, we can reasonably expect on our best day, when all the planets are in alignment and our ship comes in and the check is in the mail, 6 out of 10 or 60% or 60 of those people will show up. It'll be more like 5 out of 10. If we have anything less than 5 out of 10, that's indicative of some problems that we're running into in the way we're answering the phone. If we have any more than 6 out of 10, that's also indicative of we're not handling the phone very well, because we are not getting marginal people, which is a topic for another day, and I'll address it very briefly at the end of this video. But there are marginal people that are not highly motivated that maybe we didn't do a really good job trying to book an appointment with that we could have otherwise. And so 6 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 will book, 6 out of 10 will show, and we should reasonably expect to enroll 8 out of 10 of those people. And that's if our sales skills are sharp, we can overcome the husband objection, the money objection, and you have some easy peasy lending or financing program available for your prospects. Without the ability to overcome spouse, without the ability to overcome the husband objection, and there's training videos on all this stuff for everyone, without having lending available, it drops that close rate down dramatically, or at least the cash that we're getting down dramatically. So let's talk about online appointments. More and more of you have more and more online appointments. Here's the reality. I don't care what your vendors are telling you. The information we have on the back end and the reports that we get to see from the people that make that information available to us, about 1.5% of the people that visit your site or go to some portal actually book an appointment. And that's not bad. We just need to make sure we do something with that appointment. The problem is, as many of you have figured out, there's nothing personal there. We really didn't overcome any objections. We don't know how motivated they really are or what issues they may have with it. And the problem is, from the data I can see and that our team can see, only about 3 out of 10 of those people actually show up the first time they're scheduled. In some cases, it was as low as 10%. But I'm going to just say, in looking at enough of our client locations, it's about 3 out of 10 show up. And again, reschedules are a natural part of the business. We got to make sure we collected enough data to be able to follow up with them. So 1.5% of the people that visit your portal are going to book an appointment. 3 out of 10 of those people are going to show up. And our close rate seems to languish a little bit lower. In large part because of we need to strengthen our ability to overcome spouse and overcome the money objection. Again, have lending available. And this is not to be confused with 100% of the people that buy are going to take advantage of lending. The minority of people will take advantage of lending. But the very presence of lending will force them to make a buy using other financial tools that they normally would have otherwise said to you, oh, I don't have the money and it's a money issue, or I got to go home and talk to my spouse or my friend or some influencer. So what we need to understand from all of this is you are paying for a name and a phone number. Your ownership is paid for a name and a phone number. Our job is to first get that, book the appointment, and then keep going back to those people over and over and over again using whatever methods we have at our disposal to keep working them, to keep trying to schedule that appointment and get them to come in. These people may come in a year later. They may come in a week later. They may come in 2 hours later. There's all kinds of things we can do to bring them to the table. Now, quick note about marginal prospects. Prospects have differing degrees of motivation to want to do this. We talked about low, medium, and high motivated clients. You have marginal people that maybe only saw your ad or your message or your invitation to schedule an appointment. They maybe have only seen it 2 or 3 or 4 times, but it coincided with a point of pain that they had, and they haven't quite worked through the process yet. Don't be surprised that you have a low show rate on those people or a low scheduling rate. These are people that maybe have to see your message 8, 10, 12, even 20 times before they are sufficiently motivated to do something about it. It doesn't mean they haven't called in. It doesn't mean they haven't scheduled. It doesn't even mean they haven't rescheduled. It's all about creating and identifying the perfect storm. Can we continue to massage this lead so we catch them at a moment where the pants didn't fit? Their husband made a crack. They had pictures taken at a family reunion and they were hiding behind the little kids. They got an invitation to a wedding or a class reunion, or they got a health scare announcement or pronouncement from their physician. We need to capture that moment where point of pain meets the opportunity for them to do something, and that's when it comes together. But far too many locations aren't taking it to that degree. And I invite you to do that. We have the training tools, we have the methodologies, we have the protocols, we have the mechanisms. I just need to invite you to have the attitude of fruition. Let's work these leads until there's nothing left to be worked. And even when they say, don't ever call me again, wait about 90 days and let's call them again. Because if I'm overweight and I have not paid someone to teach me how to learn and eat like a thin person, I am still battling with a weight issue, no matter what anyone tells you. For more information, click us or call us. Have a great day.